What's up, everybody? I'm Avataj, and welcome to another episode of the HLTB podcast. I am joined, as always, by my brilliant co-host, Paula.
Hello, everybody.
As usual, we are going to talk about the games we have beaten, which may not be many, but, there's something. We haven't retired anything, because we're not quitters, apparently. And we're going to talk about the games we've been playing in the last week since the last episode. And today we're going to talk a bit about the Fantasy Critic League as our topic, as there's some stuff happening with that right now in the community. And we're going to finish it up with another go at our guessing game, where it's my turn to guess and to hopefully gain some points and maybe tie the scores a little, perhaps, because we're still on 13-11 Paula's way.
And by the way, we actually have some new rules for the thing that we came up with after the last recording. So that's gonna be interesting. It's gonna spice things up. It's gonna make everything more. There are gonna be actual odds on this thing.
Yeah, we've got stakes now.
Stakes, yeah, not odds, stakes.
Yeah. But Paula, tell us about the game that we have both beaten this week.
So we have a copycat here because I finished an arcade full of cats, and I just viewed the review notes, the notes that we have here on the drive, and Josh also beat an arcade full of cats. Mm-hmm. So I think I talked about this one in the last episode 3 days ago, which, by the way, it's been 3 days since we recorded, so don't expect a lot of things going on here. So as I said, the cats were kind of trying to travel back in time to try to make people like cats more in the present. So what happened is that some of the cats stayed behind. By some of them, I mean at least 70 on each year.
Quite a few.
And yeah, you don't bring that many people or for friends back to the future and expect nothing to happen. So that's interesting. So we have to find the cats in the arcade, and there are some mini games in the arcade to collect other things. And once you finish collecting all the cats in the 5 years you have to go back to, plus the find the 5 batteries you need to go back to the present, then you beat the game. The game also has DLC available. It seems that according to the credits, any money made by any purchases of the DLC is gonna go to an animal shelter or some kind of foundation. I don't remember. I'm sorry.
Something like that.
So yeah, if you like the game and want to support a good cause, I totally recommend you spend a couple of bucks on that DLC, because the overall base game is very well put together, as Avatar said before we recorded, so I'm still in that one.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So and for a little adventure of a couple of hours trying to find every single cat, it's good fun, it's relaxing. If you don't want to think too much and just want to stare at the screen trying to find cute little cats, this is the game for you. So, Avatar, what do you think about this game? Because I've already talked at length about it.
Well, yeah, like you said, I think for a free game, it's very well put together. It's not like a prototype or anything, and it's not like a dodgy kind of student project or anything, which, often free games can be that, and that's fine. But I was actually quite impressed with the overall quality and polish of the game. It's a hidden object game, so there's not a lot of stuff going on other than that. But I do like how they've done things that Paula was talking about, like where it's set in an arcade. So depending on what year you're in each one there's an arcade machine that you can access, and it's like a parody of a game from that year. So one of them is a version of Paperboy, but it's Boy or something, because it's cat related. and there's some other ones as well, which I won't spoil, basically. But it's just a fun little hidden object game, and what I do like about it is that there's enough difficulty that you don't just kind of mindlessly go through it. You do have to actually look, and some of them are quite hard to find, but others are super easy, so you can still knock off a whole lot really quickly.
One was actually kind of obtuse because I was just trying to see cuts on the screen, and I found an actual controller that had like the buttons like actually marked. If you and I just was being a goofball and did the Konami code, and a cat appeared.
Yeah, on that same level, I was looking around because I had one more to find, and I couldn't find it, but I found this controller layout, and I did the same thing. I thought, oh, maybe I have to do the Konami code, and I did it, and there the cat appeared, and I'm like, oh, cool. And he's dressed in a little Mario costume, and
yeah, there's a lot of cool little things like that. And just seeing like the different interpretations or cat names or cat related names the arcades have, it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah. And I mean, it's also got a decent amount, I think, for the free content on there. Like there's 5 full levels that feel complete.
Yeah.
And then there's, I think, about the same amount of DLC that you can buy from memory, which, is cool because they got to make some money somehow.
Yep.
And I like that, as you say, part of it is donated to charity, so that's always a fun thing too. I always like it when people do that. So, if you like hidden object games, you could do a hell of a lot worse than playing this one.
It is free, it is short, and it has cats. Everything you need.
What more could you want? But, what else have you been playing? I know, like I said at the top, we haven't retired anything, so, that's cool because we're awesome. But
yeah.
what else have you been playing in the meantime there, Paula?
So I've been playing a lot of the Wargroove Archipelago mode. I got sent a lot of stuff during the week where I wasn't able to play as much by my friends. So now I have mages, I have thieves, I have dragons, I have a lot of stuff to work with, and I got a lot of levels unlocked because of it. Because there was like a specific level that was like a water level where I needed like I forgot the name of the water creature that I have. But I needed that and turtles or harpoon ships. I needed the harpoon ships because there were like a lot of flying units, and it was like the only way to possibly do anything about it. And I got them last week, and I was able to swipe through that level and through the other levels where I needed like specific units. So right now I think I'm sitting at like a 76, 78 completion for percentage for the game.
Nice.
I'm still missing. I have one of the 2 or 3 items that I need in order to go to the final level. So the end is near. And also like I have to complete it, like I don't remember if it was like a week or 2 or something, because the Archipelago server only lasts for like a couple of weeks or maybe 3 weeks. So this is probably like the last chance I have to, like the last week I have to complete the game. Or like the second to last week. I don't know. I'm halfway through it. I'm more than halfway through. I still have like half the time of the total run to complete it. And I'm sitting like at a very good place. So I feel like I'm gonna complete this during the week.
It still sounds like an awesome way to play games with some friends, like playing different games that help each other out in their own games.
It totally is. Especially because some of the games have like special levels. Like my boyfriend is playing now the Overcooked mod for the game. I think most of the levels are like the ones from the original Overcooked, but the final level has you cooking every single conceivable dish in the game. And also, there were like some of the things that you have to unlock for the Overcooked player were like the ability to run,
Yeah.
which make things a little bit more doable, I guess. But also, the other thing they unlock for them is the fire extinguisher.
Yep. That's useful.
So that's very useful, especially because before that, if anything caught on fire, that level was essentially dead and they had to retry it. And yeah, and I think they're like either playing like with a total of 3 or 4 players on the Overcooked one. Like one has the mod and the other one's just joining. And I think the sweet spot for the Overcooked games is like 3 players. When you put in the 4th player, anything slowly but surely devolves into total chaos, because I feel like since the levels are like so tiny, there's such a thing of too many cooks in the kitchen. Let's just put it that way.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's still a lot of fun, but that there's that on the Archipelago thing. I think I'm only I think I alongside the Overcooked players, alongside a friend who is playing Pokemon, and I think there's like another player, if I remember correctly, that hasn't finished their ROM. But the rest of the people have finished their game like long ago. Some finished both of their games because they decided to have like 2 games going on. Since other people have to unlock your stuff, it is very possible that you get soft locked at some point until you get the required items or abilities to go through the game. So some people have decided to have 2 games instead of one, so they always have something to play. I'm not one of those people, but yeah,
Cool.
I'm barely playing one game here, but it's still a lot of fun. So
Nice.
yeah, the other game that I've been playing, and I managed to play like half an hour yesterday, it was Virche Evermore Ever Salvation, and actually, now I'm actually playing the game, because last time I talked about the game, I was just remembering what I played. So I had something to talk to. Something to talk about. So in Virtue, I think I already said the name of the protagonist is Ceres. I forgot the beginning of the game was so fucking grim. Like, so Ceres is kind of like remembering every single life she technically took, since she's kind of cursed, and that means that anyone who stays too close to her usually dies before the 23 years of age, as I stated in the last episode. This island called, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna butcher a lot of things because they're either French related or in French, and I don't know shit about French, so sorry. So the country is like Archipelago or something like that. People die at the age of 23 because there's a legend of the Grim Reaper, like going to this island and saying, I'm pretty much cursing that thing. And there are like black spider lilies like surrounding the island. And
Right.
if you're familiar with anything Japanese, usually red spider lilies are a sign that things are gonna go south really quickly. Since this island has been cursed to death, these spider lilies are black because it seems that it is the color related to death too. And uh, okay, so there's this scene where you're pretty much sure the protagonist unalive herself,
Right.
but it seems that it was like some part of a dream or something. I'm not buying it because there was like a rewind sound or something like that, or a rewind effect like right after that. and some mysterious figure was like, I can't let this happen. So I feel like there's some either time travel shenanigans or something else related to the Lord of the Island. Like more on that later. So she has like a terrible nightmare, wakes up and is like, oh, I'm alive, nothing happened. And then you start like getting information about the place she's in. So she lives at church/monastery, and I'm gonna butcher this, Cohen, which is the commoner district of the place. It has like also the most orphanages. Oh yeah, she lives in an orphanage, not a church, whatever. She has Cohen has the biggest amount of orphanages because, well, if people are dying at 23 years old, that means there are a lot of kids that become orphan.
Yeah.
Because the other thing about this place is that it seems that some human man called the Drifter came to the island like very long ago with some special knowledge, and since then, people have been able to kind of like still live in this 23-year loop because this person in particular had information about cloning and copying your memories onto another body. So
Cool.
that's where the reliever. I don't have the technical term for it yet, but I think they were called like the relievers or something like that are born, and they can instead of, well, they're kind of like still living with the curse, but they bypass the 23-year limit of it.
Nice.
But of course, that costs money, lots and lots of money. So it turns out that not everyone is able to access to it. Like most people will still be attached to the time limit. But if you are very, very wealthy or manage to save up enough, you're allowed another life
Cool.
or another 23 years of life, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And this is another thing I'm gonna butcher because no way in hell I'm gonna pronounce this right. There's actually a research district in Senegal. I don't know. I'm just gonna call it the research district, so whatever.
Yep.
There, the magic happens pretty much. So, an interesting thing about this game is that, well, there's a lot of. Now that I think about it, it isn't that special because it has happened like a couple of times already. But this is like at a bigger scale, I guess. So this is one of the cases where the protagonist is not very well liked at all. Is say for like a couple of people that are like, "What curse? That sounds like bonkers to me." But most people that have heard about the curse actually believe it. So she's not very well liked by the kids at the orphanage. She's not very well liked at the governor district because there is where the rumor like circulates the most.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like the rumors haven't quite reached the research district, so she's able like to go in and out of there, like to run errands without much trouble. On your little stroll through town, you also become very aware of how twisted this place is. Because there's literally like a scene where a guy just comes out of his house and is like, hey, my girlfriend died. Can someone like help me carry her to the research district? And people are like, oh, did you happen to like file the reports like for and back up her genes and her memories? Oh yeah, no trouble. We've been actually like saving up for this for a long time now since we already know what was going to happen. So in a sense, that is not treated in the same way as in other places. Like unless the person who dies is like someone who you know is not gonna have the money for it, or even like kids, because of course there's like a couple of kids in Sarah's past who has died, and even some that weren't able to back up their stuff but had the money. Like in those cases, like that is kind of like lamented, but in everyday conversation, it's like, oh, the weather is nice. Oh, so did you happen to hear about I don't know, the football match? Oh yeah, she died, but now she's okay. I don't know. It's kind of bonkers in that regard. So yeah, I've that is just such a wake up call, like, or a wake up slap in the game, because they could have like completely gone with the thing like, oh, that is looming over the island and it's just an unsurmountable thing, and make it like super sad and like cryptic, and people almost fear living in a way. But no, they're like, you know what? That is part of life. It's life. It's like Dark Souls. You die a lot. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, you slowly see my descent into madness with this game. Because one thing that I didn't talk about in the last episode is that if you want to get the good endings of the game, you have to go through the tragic endings of the game.
Nice.
And once you get through the tragic endings, it seems it has like a special route, which under any other, like on any other game, like the special route would be like the canon route or like the secret route. No, here's like the middle route, and it's like, okay, you can now go on and be happy. You can get like the good endings after going through all that suffering. So yeah, this is gonna be interesting.
Yeah.
Enough about me. What have you been playing about Josh?
Well, nothing quite so intense, I think. I started playing a game which I actually am really enjoying called Thirsty Suitors. It's a new game. It came out early in November, and it's on, I think, Game Pass and maybe other stuff. But it's really, really cool so far. I've only played like the first part of it. It's still quite new, but essentially it's an adventure game where you play a girl who is returning back to her hometown for like the first time in a while, and she hasn't been in touch with people very well. So there's, she's got a weird relationship with her family, and she's got weird relationships with friends that she kind of left behind. And the premise that I'm gathering as I play is that she basically fell in love with another girl and left town to pursue that, and kind of just told everyone else to stick it and get stuffed. And then that relationship obviously went sour at one point recently, and she's coming back home to kind of, regroup and get on with her life and kind of get over her girlfriend and that sort of thing. So that's kind of the premise. And it's really interesting so far because the actual gameplay is a mix between dating sim, turn-based battle, and skateboarding.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
Okay, you got me like dating sim and turn-based battle, but then you added a skateboard and things went weird in my mind.
It's great. So the reason I think it's called Thirsty Suitors is because when she goes back to town, one of the first people you meet is an ex-boyfriend who you then battle, because the dialogue, when you have conversations, the kind of dialogue choices are presented as a turn-based battle. So, so like this first ex-boyfriend that you meet is really thirsty and really, keeps flirting with you and trying to win you over. So you can use your responses by either flirting back with him or, telling him to get stuffed or, taking the conversation in different ways. And they actually then come out as attacks. And when you perform an attack, you then hit a series of like QuickTime prompts to successfully attack. And it could be anything from like, face buttons to pushing directions on your controller. And the attacks are all really kind of unique and weird. Like there's one where your character will grab a basketball, do a flip and like smack it in his face. And And there's another one where you'll like blow him a kiss, but it creates this heart that kind of like smacks him in the face and knocks him over. Or, it's very stylized and over the top. And it's very cartoony in a way as well. It kind of reminds me of kind of Jet Set Radio kind of graphics in a way. But maybe that's because there's skateboarding as well. So, yeah. But the skateboarding comes in because, at least at the moment, I haven't got so far that it's an important thing yet. But it's kind of how you get around when you're going around the town. You can skateboard. But as you skateboard, you can you can grind rails. You can jump on top of things. You can do tricks and flips and all this kind of stuff. So there's an actual like skateboarding element to it. And there are some collectibles in the world as well that you have to, go do a progression of skateboarding tricks to reach kind of Tony Hawk style, where you have to like grind on a rail and then jump on something else, then grind on a crane or something to get up high and then jump onto another thing. And that's how you get the collectible. So it could be quite complex like that. Or then, like, say when you go back to your parents' house, you're obviously not skateboarding inside. So you're walking around inside and you can, inspect objects and things, and you get a bit of backstory. And you can obviously then talk to your folks. And you can choose how to respond to them, because they're kind of a bit like, your mum is kind of a bit like, you owe me because you screwed me around and, I'm still angry at you kind of thing. And your dad's a bit like, whatever, who cares? Let's just be happy. And so, it's kind of reminds me a little bit of like Night in the Woods in that sense.
Uh-huh.
As in, you're kind of like someone who's left your hometown and you've come back after living a bit of a life and having a bit of an adventure. And now you're back with all these people that you knew and perhaps didn't treat very well, but perhaps should have. And you're kind of navigating that scenario and trying to kind of get your life back together. And again, I think the Thirsty Suitors title comes in again because there's a scene in the beginning, and minor spoiler, but it's right at the beginning, so, you see it pretty quickly, where after you fought your ex-boyfriend at the very beginning, it cuts to a scene of him talking to a group of people. And as they're talking, you realize these are all of your exes.
Wow.
And like Scott Pilgrim style, they're going to come after you kind of thing. So I'm kind of intrigued to see where it's going to go, because it's wacky enough to be kind of interesting and unique, but also it's well put together and it's well made and well written so far as well, that it's kind of amusing, and it's got it's a bit like empathetic as well, because it's about personal growth and trauma a bit. So yeah, I'm interested to see where it's going, and I actually wasn't expecting to enjoy it half as much as I did, because I was just trying it because it was there and it looked kind of half interesting. But I'm actually really keen to really get stuck into it and see where it's going to go. So stay tuned for that one. Similarly, one that I have got more stuck into from last time is The Next World, which is the like colony survival visual novel that I spoke about last time.
Mm-hmm.
And I've played a little bit more of that, where I've gotten past the intro now, and I'm into the main meat of the game, where in the intro you essentially you've crash landed on a alien planet, and you're trying to locate survivors and equipment and stuff so that you can survive. And sure enough, once you locate enough and you're set up enough, then it kind of starts the game properly, because you've got a home base where everyone can live, and you've got more survivors who can do work and things. You have different vehicles and stuff that you've found. So you have a lot more resources and options of what to do. Even down to you get to choose who your protagonist is going to be, because they end up being like the leader of the colony.
Oh.
And one of them is like the army dude who probably can get stuff done easier and the colonists will be more loyal to, but he's not as, creative thinking, and perhaps is a bit short-sighted in some ways, because the other option for a leader is the one I chose because she seemed more interesting. I forget her actual role. I think she's like a navigator or something, perhaps, but she's like the other leadership option. But she essentially will have a harder time keeping the colonists loyal to her.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have to make decisions and stuff, she'll be able to come up with more options and varied and diverse kind of ways to approach problems and solve things.
Wait, you said something about people being loyal to the leader. Is there like a mechanic around that? Like if they're not loyal enough to you, they won't listen. Like what you have what you have to say.
Yeah, pretty much. So where I'm up to at the moment is it is still visual novel style, but the main thing you're looking at is like a map of where you are and where your home base is, and you can choose what you want to do basically each time.
Oh.
And so you can have conversations with people to find out things and to see how everyone's going. You can send out exhibitions and stuff to find resources and that sort of thing, or perhaps someone will get sick and the doctor will be, I'm making this up by the way, but like maybe the doctor will be like, hey, I need some resources that we don't have, or I need some medicine from that pod that crash landed kilometers away, so you need to send some people out to get it or whatever. And that's when maybe if you try and tell people what to do, I think that's kind of where it will come in, that they might refuse if they don't like you, and you might have to find alternate solutions. Because in the intro kind of section, there was a part where you had to make a decision about going one way or the other, basically. And the decision I made kind of pissed off a few people because they wanted to go the other way. So I think there was no right answer kind of thing.
Yeah.
But so they weren't necessarily happy with me. So then later down the line, they were kind of a bit, they weren't my fan. So they weren't too interested in supporting me in future decisions kind of thing. So I still haven't got into like the full, I haven't seen everything that there is on offer in the game, but that's kind of where I'm headed. And I've definitely made it to the part where we're up to like the main gameplay loop. So I'll have more to say about it later on, because I feel like there's more to discover, and like those sorts of systems and things, I'm not quite sure how they play out yet. But it's actually quite an interesting game because I haven't really played many like it in as a whole. I've played like, survival games and resource management games, and I've played visual novels and things, but not really a combination of them all kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's kind of cool because I like it. You can kind of see, if you put your thinking cap on, that the whole thing is basically you're making decisions, and those decisions, it's like a choose your own adventure novel, essentially. So there are branches that you're choosing, and choose one thing, you end up on that branch, and it just gets complex enough that you can't quite keep track of it, and it does feel a bit more organic. So, but it's very much just, you chose to go to page 5 instead of page 6 kind of thing. But it's good. And I think I'm going to enjoy it. Anyway, I'm keen to keep going, which is cool. I also played a little bit more of Cocoon. Not heaps, but enough to defeat another boss. And I quite like the boss fights in Cocoon because they're quite traditional in their setup, I suppose. They all take place in a arena, and like each one takes place in its own arena, I should say. So it's just a circular enclosed space, and you've got a big boss that you're fighting, and so they do a number of different attacks, and so one of them shoots things at you in like a bullet hell kind of pattern that you have to dodge and then obviously attack. The one I fought today was a bit different, where it kind of follows you around the arena, and if it gets close enough, it'll try and stomp you with its like big foot. But the arena is also filled with all these worms and things that if you walk on them, you walk really, really slowly. So the gimmick is that there are patches where the worms aren't. So you have to kind of jump and fly across to safe patches to kind of stay away from the boss. And eventually you kind of want him to try and hit you, and then you dodge out the way and he hits something that will hurt him kind of thing. So, these are all kind of like mechanics that I've seen before in other boss fights, but it's kind of nice seeing them in Cocoon because they're done well and they're satisfying to play. They're not ridiculously like obtuse or hard to understand. It's usually pretty clear how to progress.
Also in Cocoon, like the boss battles aren't like actual direct battles, but more of like trying to solve a puzzle to make the boss hit itself.
Pretty much, and or to kind of find that weakness that then you can get the best of them.
Yeah.
And dodge their attacks and stuff like, and they kind of, as you progress through the boss battle, they go into different phases with different attacks, or perhaps they do more attacks or that sort of thing. So like this guy today that I fought, by the time I got to his last phase, he wasn't just following me around and then stomping on me. He was like bashing his foot on the ground and creating shockwaves that I had to avoid, and destroying other things that were like my safe zone. He just destroyed anyway for the hell of it. So I had less options of where to move, and it just kind of gets harder and harder until you defeat him. So, and just playing that game is, it's a joy, because the soundtrack is so good. It's just like very ambient noise, for want of a better word, like not music as such, but environmental sounds and that sort of thing. But also very kind of sci-fi and alien sounding at times, because there's like synthesizers in there and stuff. And the graphics are, I think they're beautiful. They're not very high fidelity necessarily, like they're quite flat textures and everything, but the animations are so smooth and detailed, and everything just feels really good as you do it. And there's a lot of good visual and audio feedback on everything you're doing. So yeah, still playing Cocoon. I think well, I don't want to make any promises, but I feel like this week I'm going to try and make a concerted effort to finish it, because I really want to, but I keep getting distracted with other things. But yeah, the final thing that I played, which Paula actually reminded me before of when you were talking about Overcooked, was that I went and hung out with my sister yesterday, and after finishing It Takes Two, we didn't really want to start anything else straight away, so we have played some Overcooked 2 together. So we continued playing some Overcooked 2, and we basically did the fourth world, like fourth set of levels, because that's where we're up to. And yeah, I think most people know what Overcooked is about, and it's so much fun when you actually play it in co-op. I have actually tried playing it in solo as well, but that's just, why bother? There are some levels though where we were playing in co-op, and I feel like if we had a third person, it just would have been infinitely easier, because some of them you have to like really, the difficulty is like moving around, especially in the fourth world that we were in. A lot of the difficulties are like, there'll be areas where you get blown across the other side of the kitchen, or everything is a conveyor belt. So you either have to go the long way around, which is fast, or try and go the short way, but you're going against the conveyor belt, so you've got to like keep dashing your whole way there.
Or sometimes like the stages, like the actual stage or like the counters move, so you get trapped like in a little area of the kitchen, and you can access like the dishes and stuff.
And it's hilarious because you end up saying the dumbest things to each other. Like there's this one level where essentially the kitchen's split in two, and there's two rafts. And so each raft has its own set of tools and ingredients and stuff that you can use in the kitchen. And they kind of move around each other as the level progresses. So they're not always touching each other. And basically whoever's on one raft needs plates to plate stuff up, but the other person is the one who's got the sink to wash the plates. And you can only transfer plates to each other when your rafts are touching for a short amount of time. So you end up sitting on the couch next to your friend or my sister, yelling out like, "Quick, give me some plates!" and getting really angry. But it's good times. It's good fun.
Yeah, I remember walking like in front of my sister's desk or like office, and she was like, "The onion! Throw me the fucking onion!"
Exactly. And I love throwing things around as well, because it's just fun. So I'm like constantly throwing food around. And I just have so much fun. But then my sister's like, I can't get anywhere. There's so much fucking food everywhere. But yeah, it's good times. It's a very much a frustration game. But when you do get it right, you feel like you're doing pretty good. And we mostly go for like to get 3 out of 3 stars for each level. And if we don't get it, we're like, okay, we got to do it again. And
but what would be funny as fuck? Imagine Gordon Ramsay with like 3 to Jeff trying to play this game. That would actually be a lot of fun.
It'll be interesting, that's for sure.
Yep.
But yeah, Overcooked 2 is like, I mean, and Overcooked, Overcooked series in general, excellent co-op games. And, you know, excellent little party game for couch co-op. And probably online as well. I haven't played online. Can you play online?
You can play online, actually. Like, if you're on Epic and your friend is on Steam, and you have a friend of Game Pass, but everyone is using a PC, you can share like a code and you can all play together.
Cool, that's good. Yeah, because often these games they're either one or the other, which is kind of annoying. But it's nice when they're both. So
yeah, though if you want to play like with someone playing on Switch, you have to have a Switch. Like, there's no like cross-platform playing on consoles.
Yeah, well, like we're playing on PlayStation 5, so I doubt that would be friendly. Sony don't like playing with other people, so
yeah.
So yeah, but that's all I've been playing. I have kind of dipped in and out of a couple of other games that I've mentioned recently that I have been playing, but you know, haven't really done enough to talk about. So I'm still playing, you know, Assassin's Creed Mirage. I'm still playing Atomic Heart. I'm still working my way through a number of other games, but yeah, when something interesting happens, I'll talk about it. But that's it for me. Why don't we have a little chat about something we like to call the Fantasy Critic League? Enter fanfare here.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure there's an actual, like, no, that's a Saturn. No, this is the one I was looking for. Yeah.
Yeah. So, for anyone who doesn't know, if you haven't heard us talk about it or seen it on the forum or on the Discord or anything, I am basically the manager of our HLTB Fantasy Critic League, which is essentially a fantasy football league, but it's about video games instead. And there's a website called Fantasy Critic, which is, you know, facilitates the whole thing. And if you're interested, I'm sure you'll find us on Discord or on the HLTB forum. And please feel free to ask questions and check it out. We've been playing it now for a few years. I think our first year, let me just check, was 2020.
Yep.
And basically every year we have a group of players who all pick a number of games throughout the year that then get scored on OpenCritic. And depending on what their score is, the players will earn points for how well their games are doing.
Or they lose points on how bad the games are doing.
That is correct. So the key number for points, just as a, you know, quick explanation, is for everything you earn over 70. So if a game gets over 70 on OpenCritic, then you get points. For everything under 70, you lose points. So the whole idea is you're trying to pick games that you think will score highly and give you the most points, and obviously not lose you points, because that is bad. And that's basically the gist of it.
And also we have like a couple of special spots on the Fantasy Critic League that are for counter picks. So in that case, you want the game to score badly so you don't lose points.
Yeah, because a counter pick is essentially, instead of picking a game for your team, you pick a game that someone else has picked that you think is going to do badly. So then the scoring is reversed. And yeah, if they lose points, you gain points, and vice versa. So it's a whole thing.
Yeah, but if you counter pick a game, that other person can't drop the game. They're obligated to have their score.
Yeah. So much like fantasy football, throughout the year, there are options where players can trade games between each other. They can drop games under certain conditions. And, you know, they can bid on new games or add things to their roster and take it away. And, you know, it's an ongoing thing throughout the year, which, you know, keeps it interesting. But we're up to a point in this particular year of 2023 where we're coming towards the end of our current season, and we're basically opening up signups for the 2024 season, which is why we thought it'd be a good idea to talk about it now. There are also videos and discussions and things on the Fantasy Critic League thread on the forum and on the Discord that have more information if this kind of tickles your interest. But part of what I wanted to talk about as well was Paula here happened to be the winner of our very first season of Fantasy Critic League.
Hey.
So I wanted to get your perspective, Paula, on what it's like as a player to play in the league and, you know, what you like about it and that sort of thing. So please tell us all.
So as a player, I haven't been playing like this year's Fantasy League, but I think I have been like for the last 2 or 3 years, like going through the league.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is that the more this league has been like going on, the more people we have. So in the first year, it was like actually like really easy to snatch Animal Crossing, and I don't remember which other game I had that I was like very sought after. But in the later years, unless you have the luck to be like the very first player to pick, you are probably out of luck on those like high scoring games or like the ones that people are more aware of. So during the years, since you are able like to pick games after the initial, I'm gonna say 4 or 6, I don't remember, games that you pick, you have to be constantly checking what games that you're looking forward to have finally appeared on the Fantasy Critic League. Because sometimes it happens that the game is like so like absolutely it isn't a well-known game. So often you have to ask Avatar or whoever to add it to the Fantasy Critic League. In that case, you're like running the risk that no one is going to review the game. But if that game happens to be a hidden gem, you will score a lot of points. It also happens that during the year, you start seeing trailers of the game you were thinking that it's going to be amazing, and it ain't looking as hot anymore. So it becomes a race of you trying to drop the game before it releases, and someone else picking up the game because they know you're fucked, and they're gonna score a lot of points. So that is quite interesting indeed. So the other thing is that I've been like very not constant with my involvement of the league. So the first year I played, I actually like picked my games and forgot about it for a couple months, and then it was like, hey, Animal Crossing scored kind of high. Let's keep this going.
There's a chance.
Yeah, there's a chance I actually win this. And other years, like things don't go as well. Some games don't get released and stuff like that. And other people do a lot of research. Like Alex, in the second year he won, but he actually did a shit ton of research on the games he picked, which I think he has been doing on the later years, but with not the same success. But he always scores like highly, not like right now he's like on 4th place, and not by a lot. Like he has 98.61 points, where and one game left to release, while the top player has like 101 points.
And this is kind of where it gets interesting, because our year this year has been interesting because compared with other years that we've played, it's been way closer than any other year, because there's probably the top 5 or 6 positions at least are still in contention for winning.
Yeah.
Whereas in previous years, it's been maybe the top 2, maybe only the top 1 who's like run away with it. And you're like, oh, by this time of the year, you know, almost December, you're thinking, oh, well, they're definitely going to win and there's no one's ever going to take it.
Yeah.
But at the moment, there's a handful of people who are within reach of the first place. So if they manage to score some more points, they could get up there really easily. And it's quite, I don't know, it's quite exciting, really.
Yeah, like between the first and the 4th, there's like 4 points away, like a little less even. So this year is gonna be like anyone's game for real.
But that's where one of the things to consider when you're with picking games is so Alex as Paula mentioned, is in 4th place, but only about 3 points behind 1st place, which is not enough. Like, one game comes out and he'll be able to jump in 1st place.
Yeah.
But he only has one game on his roster left to come out, and it doesn't look like it's going to come out. So
let me see which game it is.
It's Sons of the Forest, which is currently in early access and still only has an estimated release date of late 2023. And at this stage, something that says late 2023 probably is not going to come out, and it'll be pushed till 2024. So if it does come out, he'll probably get enough points to put him up the top. But if it doesn't, he's not going to score anything for that game, and he'll stay in 4th place, or, you know, someone else will get in front of him or behind him or whatever. But he won't be able to gain any more points. So that's kind of part of the gamble you take as well, because as we all know, a lot of games get delayed, or they might come out in early access when initially they were slated to come out as a full release, which is what happened with Sons of the Forest for Alex. I think when he picked it, it was meant to come out as a full release, but when it did come out, the devs said, no, this is early access. We're not in full release yet. So no one bothered reviewing it for a score because it's not officially released yet.
Yeah. On the other hand, you have the 3rd place, who is Chloe, and hasn't picked their 10th game.
Because they ran out of budget.
They ran out of budget. No.
So another thing you have in the Fantasy Critic League is it's not real money, it's virtual money. But everyone has $100 at the start of the year that you can spend on, and that's how you pick up new games throughout the year. So in Lowe's case, who is currently sitting in 3rd place, they have an empty slot in their roster that they could fill with a game, but they also don't have any money. So they can't afford to bid on anything unless they bid with a $0 bid, which other people then would be able to bid on top of and, you know, probably pick up whatever they're trying to bid on. Yeah. So they have very limited options now, even though they're only like less than 2 points away from 1st place. So having an extra game to release in the next month would be very important for them. But yeah, this is the kind of thing that makes it interesting, because it's not just, you know, you can just pick games and then ignore it. Like, there is that option. It's up to every player. Or you can kind of tune in and see how things change and pay attention to the scores as they come out and that sort of thing, which, you know, most of us tend to do when we discuss it and things on the Discord and that kind of thing. But yeah, it can be quite interesting as well, because, I mean, no matter how well you think a game's going to do, it can be quite underwhelming at times.
Yeah.
Like, this year one of my picks was Assassin's Creed Mirage, which is the latest Assassin's Creed game. And I thought, man, this is going to do well. This is going to be like in the 80s, maybe even the 90s, because the last time I picked an Assassin's Creed game was Valhalla, and it did do very well. But as it stands, Assassin's Creed Mirage only got a 76 on OpenCritic, so I only scored 6 points from it. So it was it's still a point. I still scored points, but it's a little bit underwhelming because I thought it would do better. And if it did do a little bit better, then I'd probably be a little bit more ahead of the other guys on the leaderboard. So yeah, it's difficult sometimes to know. Yeah.
Like right now, you're like very, very close to losing out, like, your 1st place.
Yeah. I mean, I never expect to win anything anyway, like, because I don't think about it as hard as, say, Alex does or other people do when they research it. And I know Frozen Roy thinks about things a bit harder than I do as well. We often have chats that we record for updates on the Fantasy Critic League and that sort of thing. But my attitude is very much more casual, I think, as far as getting the good games. I get games that I'm like, oh, that looks like a good idea. And sometimes it turns out to be a terrible idea. But like, I picked Payday 3 because I thought, man, that's going to be a banger. But it ended up losing me points because it scored somewhere in the 60s. But that's where, thankfully, I had the option to drop it. And I did. So that boosted my score because I was no longer losing points for that.
Yeah. On the other hand, I was looking at my 2021 stuff on Fantasy Critic League. And I did have like a couple of high scoring games that were Vasta Fellows, which we actually had like a debate about keeping it or not. And Shin Megami Tensei 5. And between the two of them, I have like 35 points. The thing is, that very year I picked Baldo the Guardian Owls and I said, hey, this game looks cool. Meanwhile, Alex was like, hey, I investigated about this company and also seen the writers, this game is going to have problems. Alex was right. I lost 11 points on Baldo.
Which is pretty bad.
And fell out of grace really, really quickly.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like one thing that we've learned over the years of playing Fantasy Critic, which is something to remember for anyone who wants to play in the future, having a full roster where all your games release and they all do okay is way better than having a roster where like you've got a few games that do really, really good, but the rest are kind of a bit crap.
Yeah.
Like consistency is way better than just getting the top scores, because you might get like 96 for one game, but if all the rest are scoring 72, you're not going to be at the top of the board. Whereas if you get a good mix of like games in the 80s or in the late 70s, then, you know, you'll probably be in contention.
Yeah, also 2020, which was the year of the pandemic.
Yeah.
I snatched Animal Crossing New Horizons, and that gave me a shit ton of points, and I also managed to snatch Ori and the Will of the Wisp. And that year, I actually ended up without picking like 2 more games. But that also was better than picking a game and taking a gamble on a game that it was probably like not gonna be okay, like or good at the very least, or good enough to not lose the points.
Yeah.
So filling your roster with at the very least okay games is a good move, but not filling your roster and try just because you don't feel like the games are not gonna be okay. It's still like a valid move. It all depends on how your other games do and how spicy you're feeling that year, or if or how many games released that year. Because the thing about 2020 is that because of the pandemic, there were a lot of less game releasing like on the later half of the year, because of the development cycles being greatly affected by the pandemic. So
yeah, there were lots and lots of delays as well. Like many games that were meant to come out in 2020 ended up coming out in 21 or even 22 because they kept getting pushed back because of pandemic related stuff.
Yeah, and because of the pandemic, Animal Crossing scored so well because no one had anything to do like for at the very least 3 months.
Yeah, there's no competition.
Before, like, yeah.
And sometimes that helps. Like sometimes one of the worst things that can happen for a game that you've picked is for it to just not get any attention and not get any reviews. Because even though that works out as a 0, so you don't lose any points, but you obviously don't gain any. So it can be a great game that is really good, but if it's not either popular enough or if there's too much competition of other things coming out, then it could get overlooked sometimes. And yeah, that can be a detriment to your roster.
Yeah. Oh my god, I'm looking at the 2022 and I kind of 2022 or 2021, I don't remember. This is, which year is this? I don't remember.
Be in the top right of the page.
Like the third game of the Fantasy Critic League, whatever. And I wasn't like as as participative of it. But it was a terrible year for me because half of the games didn't release. Like Slime Rancher 2 got out on early access, so thank you Game Pass for shitting on my leg. Mineko's, though, congratulations, Monami Park, because of getting the Game Pass deal and being able to develop the game a little bit more. Mineko's Night Market didn't come out that year. Wizard with a Gun is still not. No, the Mineko's Night Market is out on Game Pass, I think.
Is it?
Yeah. Wizard with a Gun is, I don't know if it's out or not, but anyway. Kirby's Dream Buffet lost me points. Rogue Quest Treasures and Still give me 3 points each. And my happy game of the year was Trey and got me 14 points. So it was the reason I didn't end up dead last. Though my counter picks didn't come out either, so they didn't affect my ranking. But they didn't give me any points either. Though, to be perfectly honest, if Resident Evil 4 did come out that year, I would have been in the negative.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But yeah, if all of that sounds very confusing and doesn't make a lot of sense, as new players can often get quite confused, but it is actually quite easy to follow once you get into it, then by all means ask questions on the Discord or whatever. Anyone who's played is probably going to be happy to help out new players and that kind of thing, because there are a few ins and outs that need to get used to. One of the things I do want to kind of talk about is, because we've got signups opening soon. By the time this podcast comes out, it should be pretty much open for signups as of the 4th of December. So that means that there will be an invite link posted on the forum and on the Discord. And if you are a new player who would like to take part, it's free. So you can follow the invite link, create yourself a free account on the Fantasy Critic website, and then join in our league for 2024. The main thing that is the big commitment of the whole thing is the draft at the beginning of the year. So this is a process where, much like football or any other sport or whatever, we go through and make our initial picks for our team. And it's usually like half of our roster. So our roster will be 10 games long, and we'll pick 5 at the very start of the year before anything else happens. But we take it in turns to make it fair, so that, you know, one person doesn't just grab all the obvious big games. So that means that we have to basically go through everyone in the league, no matter where you are in the world, because as HLTB, we are spread out across many time zones. So it can take a little bit of time to get through, and it can usually take a week or two for everyone to get through all of their picks, which might sound like a lot, but we kind of give everyone at least 24 hours to make a pick, because it might turn into their turn when they're half asleep at 1 a.m, and they might not see it till, you know, later that day or that evening, depending on what they're doing. So, you know, we try to be fair and give people plenty of time to make their picks no matter what time zone they're in. So that's the biggest commitment, because you kind of have to be aware of when it is your turn and when to take picks. But there is also an option where you can kind of make all your picks beforehand and let the site choose the best one of those for you when it is your turn. And that's called an auto draft. So there are options, but that's just the one thing I always try and stress to everybody, if they are thinking of joining, is that you're more than welcome to join, and we'd be very happy to have anyone else who wants to take part. But you do need to be aware that some availability is required during the first couple of weeks of January. So keep that in mind. But yeah, other than that, if any of it sounds interesting, or for existing players as well, keep an eye on the Discord, keep an eye on the HLTB forum. All the information will be posted there no matter what. So yeah, feel free to check it out. And it is good fun, especially because we're all game nerds and we like this kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's a fun community thing to do together as well. And yeah, we can argue about which game is better and trade things. And if you're Frozen Roy, you can trade every single thing you ever owned 50 times over to really game the system.
Yep.
I love it. He's traded so much for personal gain. And I love it. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. The next month will be interesting as well, because there's still 5 or so titles that are confirmed to be coming out in December, and they could affect the leaderboard, because Frozen Roy's got one coming out soon on the 1st of, well, might be out by the time this comes out, but on the 1st of December, which, you know, he is only about 12 or 13 below first place. So if Dragon Quest Monsters The Dark Prince scores really well, Frozen Roy could be in first place. And similarly, Clumsy Penguin, another player, has 3 more games coming out before the end of the year. And hey, if they all do really well, that could put them right up the top as well. So, you know, it's not over till it's over. And the next month is going to be interesting. I suspect there will be some close calls here and there. But
Definitely.
But yeah, that's Fantasy Critic League. Like I said, I can understand if you're not really sure what we're talking about, it can be a bit confusing and a bit hard to follow. But if it sounds interesting at all, please ask questions. Please check it out. I think we're a pretty welcoming bunch anyway when it comes to new people joining. So yeah, hope to see some people back for 2024.
Woo! So with that done, let's jump right into Guess the Game, where the aim of the game is to guess the game. Riveting, I know. First of all, we've made some extra rules for it. So
Yes.
how long have we been playing this run specifically? This is the 16th chapter, but did we actually did anything in the first episode of the podcast? I don't remember.
I don't think so.
We've decided that after technically 10 rounds, but that means 20 or so episodes. Do we keep that for this round? We are relatively close. You could actually snatch the first place from it. Do we do it 20 or do we do it 30 for this first one?
I think 20 is a good number.
Okay, we're gonna do 20 turns into trying to guess the other one's game. And after that, the winner will pick a game. But the average time to beat that game cannot be higher than the score you won with.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, if we finish up this round now, I have 30 points. So that means the game that I pick has to be shorter than, or at most 30 hours to beat in average.
13.
And 13, sorry.
Yeah.
The thing is that, time is limited, so we cannot go with a super long adventure between these things.
Mm-hmm.
And also, it gives you an incentive not only to win the round, because you're picking the game people are playing, but just to try to always score high during your turn.
Mm-hmm.
And we pick the average time instead of the 3 categories of time, because you could very well pick a game that is 2 hours, but for some godforsaken reason, the 100% time for that is 100. So we leave it at the average.
Roguelikes are very good like that. Usually a main story time might be just a run, which is 20 minutes. But if you actually want to complete a roguelike, it could be hundreds of hours. So there's a lot of difference sometimes in the time categories. So that's why we thought, the average time is probably a better one to look at.
So yeah, someone is going to pick a game. They're going to have a set number of hours for the game to be beaten. And it's going to be fun, believe me. And this time we're actually going to play each other's game, because on the previous season of the podcast, we actually had a backlog of unplayed games just from the how long to beat the game thing. But yeah.
It's all Rick's fault, isn't it?
It's always Rick's fault. So yeah, the game that I have for you is actually a lengthier game.
Ooh.
The average time to beat on how long to beat for the main story only is about 25 hours.
Oh, wow.
This person took 20 hours and said, Cowards ending chosen.
Which ending, sorry?
Cowards.
Cowards ending, okay.
Cowards, yeah.
Cowards ending chosen. Okay, so it's 25 hours-ish. It's got multiple endings or options. This is one of those ones where Cowards ending sounds very familiar, but I have no idea why. 25 hours is that kind of... It's that kind of length where not heaps always falls into that time. It's usually a bit longer or shorter. So I feel like 25 hours is it's a good kind of single player not RPG necessarily, but almost like a Bioshock-ish kind of game. I'm not saying it would be Bioshock, but I mean, is it BioShock?
It is not BioShock.
Okay, cool. I was going to say that'd be weird. But,
Isn't BioShock like a lot shorter?
I think it might
Let
be.
me actually check.
It might be like 15-ish, I want to say. I don't know, I tend to take my time in those sorts of games, so...
It's actually BioShock is 12 hours and the completion is 22 hours and a half. Interesting.
Really? That's a lot shorter
that's
than
the
I thought.
original BioShock, by the way.
Yeah, that's heaps shorter than I was expecting. Oh, there you go. So 25 is longer than that.
Yeah.
But so if it's got multiple endings, then it means it's not like it's not like a simulator game or something. It's not like a straight up puzzle game, probably. I feel like it's more of an adventure kind of thing, or a story or something. Yeah. I'm gonna need more. Next.
Yeah, I'm looking for the thing that is not gonna give it away.
25. Howard's End.
Holy crap.
It's not, one more guess. It's not something like, oh, what's that game? Oh no, that was way shorter. That was like 7 hours. Never mind. Continue.
Okay. I'm trying to find a thing that doesn't have like a very, very specific thing that I know there are some, but I'm trying to like not give you anything that is like too vague. I actually want to give you a chance, but I don't want it to be obvious. So
just find that middle ground.
Yeah, that might give it away.
I feel like it could be like an RTS. It's not like a Dawn of War game or something.
Oh my god, there's so many comments for this one. Oh my god, this is not like the actual two, but there's a comment that said I survived.
Nice.
Or you know. No, I don't know. Okay, yeah, I think I'm gonna go back to that one comment because otherwise we're gonna be here all day. It says, oh, by the way, this game has approximately, this is the wrong game. For main plus sides, the average is 61 hours.
Oh, gee, okay.
Though this person took 55 hours and said all side quests, but not all gigs.
Gigs. I feel like I should know that.
You probably should know that.
All side quests, not all gigs. Oh, what calls something gigs? Again, I feel like it's like right there, but I want to say it's maybe a Saints Row game.
No, it's not a Saints Row game.
Gigs. Oh, that so rings a bell.
I found like a comment that would actually be very interesting that I think is gonna give it all away.
I feel like the gigs really does give it away. But I'm stupid. And I can't think of it. Yeah. Gigs.
Gigs.
Oh man. I mean, I don't think it is this, but it's not like Brutal Legend.
It's not Brutal Legend.
Maybe they called their battles gigs or something, I can't remember.
Brutal Legend, by the way, is a much shorter game.
Yeah, but
it is 9 hours.
I know I've spent a lot of time in that game, but doesn't mean that you can't finish it much quicker. So
yeah.
Gigs. That's the key. I know someone is listening to this going, I know what that is. But again, I'm not bright. I feel like it's some kind of like contract kill kind of thing. Maybe. and they call them gigs. So I'd guess. No, I don't think it is, but it's not like Hitman 2 or something, is it?
It's not Hitman 2.
Or like 3 or
So
1.
I have to say I considered that one for this week, but it's not.
Okay. So I know times can vary quite a lot with those games. But I don't think they're called gigs anyway, so I don't understand how Coward's ending would fit. But bear with me a bit longer. It's so familiar, I know I'm going to kick myself as soon as I know what it is.
I'm gonna say it's a game that has come out relatively recently. It is fresh on the on people's memories.
Okay. Oh. No. Is it Cyberpunk?
It is Cyberpunk, yeah.
I knew there were gigs in that. Yeah.
Yeah, your final clue was gonna be 1.0 was better, couldn't finish Gary's job because it wouldn't spawn even after waiting 14 days. That's an hour max though.
That'd be about right, yeah. No, it was so, it was so on the front of my mind, but yeah, that took a while to get to.
That means we're tied at 13 points. It is anyone's game.
All right. Let me get a bit of a yeah.
You did very well, though it was very spooky that you actually named like a couple of games that I was considering.
Yeah, well, I'll keep that in mind for the future. But it's funny though. I would encourage anyone to try this with other people if you get a chance, because it's funny how where your brain goes when you hear certain details, and you think of the most random games, even if you know they don't really fit. Like Brutal Legend, I know does not fit those clues, but I just had to guess it to rule it out because, yeah, even though you know definitely. It's not true. So,
there were like a couple of clues that had like a specific names on there, so I had to ignore those.
Like Keanu Reeves was great.
Yeah, like, and also the endings of the game seem to have like tarot card names.
Oh.
Like the sun and the tower.
Yeah, okay.
But I didn't know if that would.
Yeah, I actually think the coward thing was. I was actually trying to think of something else. Funnily enough.
Yeah, actually the coward's ending. A lot of people call it the suicide ending, or like the I shoot myself ending.
Okie dokie. Good to know. I can't really remember what I did for that. What my ending was, but I think for anyone interested, I think I did the whole nomad journey and I finished with the nomads, and that was that.
Yeah, I actually have the tab open in my phone for your time. Let me look it up real quick.
I played it
or not, but I did take a screenshot. Bear with me a little longer.
Mm-hmm.
So you got a main plus extras time of 92 hours and 80 minutes. And it says main story, all side quest lines, all open world gigs, all NCPD hustles, and most vehicles all but 5.
Yeah.
32 out of 44 achievements.
Yeah.
And you played this 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, I played it pretty much when it came out. Because I don't think I pre-ordered it, but I ordered it like a week after it came out because I knew I wanted to play it anyway. And I played it on Xbox One X, and I'd heard that version was pretty stable. And thankfully it was. Like, I didn't really encounter many problems. I think it might have crashed on me once or twice, but that's it. So I was lucky in that sense.
When you say it only crashed on me a couple of times, something is wrong with the game.
Well, I mean, for a game that was a complete shit show, that's actually pretty good.
Fairly. Yeah.
So yeah, I got lucky in that sense. But yeah, I haven't played it since. But I don't know. Every now and then I think maybe I should go back to it now that they've improved it and everything. But then I remember all the other games to play.
The backlog is real, people.
Mm-hmm. Cool. We're tied up And yeah, once we have done, as Paul was saying, once we've done 20 of these, we're going to, get to the stakes and see who's won and what we can make each other play. I have some ideas, but
that evil laugh.
Yeah. But for now, that'll do us for today. Bit of a quicker episode, but that's all right. Thanks everyone for listening. We will be back again next week with hopefully some more completions and games, maybe even retired something. Maybe we should make it a mission that we have to give up on a game between now and next time.
That would be interesting.
Just to have something to say that we retired.
That would actually make us play the games we don't want to play from our backlog. I know that game is shitty, but now I can say with actual property.
So, well, I gave it half an hour. That's enough. But yeah, thanks everyone for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.
Bye-bye.
So, well, I gave it half an hour.